When I think about Gabriel Mills's work, the first thing I think about is time. Not time as this image or symbol, not time as something that can be depicted, but time as something that is required, something that is constant and that will come. This is not work that opens itself immediately to the viewer. It doesn't reward any type of speed, and it doesn't offer you a clean image or a clear takeaway or permission to register what you've seen and move on. And that's what's really beautiful about it. That matters, because how our work asks to be looked at tells us just as much as what it looks like. Mills has said that his paintings exist in the world as real things, not as reflections of the world, and not as these symbolic objects, these symbols standing in for meaning. They assert themselves through their material presence, and that distinction is really crucial, because once a painting insists on being a thing, not an illustration, not an argument, not a metaphor, it also insists on being encountered on its own terms. This is work that does not chase you. It does not convince you, and it does not perform for you. It is waiting for you, and waiting in our current moment today is really radical. It's a radical demand. So today, I'm not going to do him a disservice by summarizing his work. I'm not going to flatten his work in the least bit into themes or into trends. Instead, I want to show you my interpretation of how his practice functions materially, structurally, spiritually, and why it holds its ground in institutions, in collections, and over time. Before we go any deeper, I want to pause for a second. If you're new here, I just want to welcome you guys with gratitude. And if you've been here for a while, thank y'all so much for coming back. My name is Mariah Elise, and this is Dear Glory. This channel is a space where we slow the art world down enough to actually understand it. Not just what's happening, but why it's happening, how careers are built, how collections are built, and what kind of thinking lasts over time. This program is built around understanding the nuances of the art world, the art, the ecosystem, and how it all coexists together in this field. If that kind of thinking resonates with you, I want to ask you to do something really small but really important right now. Subscribe to the channel and press the like button. I know that sounds super basic, but it really, really matters. These actions directly affect whether this work reaches the people that it's meant for: artists, collectors, and thinkers who want more than surface level conversation. And I genuinely appreciate you for being here with me. This channel only works because you're here with me. I'd say at the core of Gabriel Mills's work, the core of his practice is duration. And I don't mean that as a concept, not as a reference point, but as a way of working and thinking. These paintings are built really slowly. They are accumulated layer after layer of oil paint, scraping and pouring and revising, and these decisions remain really visible. Nothing is smoothed over to create an illusion of ease. Mills has described the painting process as a collapse between thinking and doing. Each thought becomes a mark, and each mark carries weight. Each mark is an extension of consciousness, and that means that the surface of the painting is not expressive in the emotional sense. His paintings document, they serve as a documentary. They record time spent thinking, time spent responding, time spent being present. From a curatorial standpoint, the work doesn't offer itself up for really quick interpretation. You're not meant to read it or look at it once and move on. You're meant to return to it. His work is asking you to practice a different relationship to attention right now. And in a culture that rewards immediacy and legibility and speed, Mills's work insists on presence, on patience, on staying long enough to be changed. And I don't believe he's doing this because slowness is inherently better, but because attention is just a form of respect. Mills talks a lot about weight. He talks a lot about weight. And he doesn't talk about it in the sense of a metaphor, not metaphorical weight, but actual weight. The weight of oil paint, the weight of scale, the weight of a mark that's holding its place on the surface. These paintings are frequently larger than the viewer's body, and they smell like oil paint. They carry that density. They resist that lightness. And I don't mean in an emotional sense, but physical lightness. Mills has said that the paintings hold their own gravity, that these paintings have their own time. They have their own order. They are not representations of the world. They are not about something else. They stand in the world. They belong in the world as something. And that distinction changes the entire viewing experience of his work. You're not decoding meaning. You're not looking for meaning. You're not trying to peel the layers. You're encountering the presence. And that surface remains active over time. Areas within the work flake away, skins within the work develop, and protrusions from past decisions within the painting present themselves later on. Time doesn't move forward across the canvas, it accumulates across the canvas. And the painting becomes what Mills calls the embodiment of lived attention. And when you stand in front of that, when you allow your body to register scale, smell, texture, resistance, and you realize that the work isn't asking you to understand it, it's asking you to be with it, that's one of the most beautiful things I believe about art. One of the most misunderstood aspects of Mills's work is how he titles it. Titles, they don't tell you what you're looking at. They don't instruct interpretation. They establish a condition. Mills has explained that titling follows the same logic as painting. He rearranges letters based on how they sound or how they look. He adds and he subtracts, moves left and he moves right, goes through a process of elimination. It's a process of discovery, just like his paintings. He's learning and responding as he goes. I think that's a really amazing philosophical way of thinking when it comes to titling and lettering and placing letters next to one another. Sometimes the title he arrives at has prior meaning he wasn't consciously aware of. And this isn't coincidence, it's resonance more than anything. The title isn't the meaning, it's this threshold. And as Mills has said, the destination isn't a physical location, it's an internal realization that tells us something really essential. The painting isn't asking or isn't taking you somewhere externally. It's asking you to notice what shifts internally as you stay with the painting. The title doesn't close the meaning, it opens a door and takes a step back. I'd say one of the most revealing aspects of Mills's practice isn't found in a single painting. It's found in how the paintings exist together. Mills frequently installs works in parts or small groupings, and there are not sequences, there are not variations on a theme, they're not meant to be read in this linear order. They behave like adjacent thoughts, distinct but in conversation. And from a curatorial perspective, this is a critical signal. It tells us that meaning in this practice is not singular or declarative, it's relational. No single painting claims authority. No surface resolves the question. Understanding emerges through comparison, through movement, through return. And as you move back and forth between works, what changes isn't the painting, it's your position in relation to it. That movement, that physical, perceptual, that cognitive is part of the work. This is where Mills's practice departs from purely formal abstraction. The paintings are not isolated aesthetic objects. They are components of larger systems of attention. And each work gains meaning through proximity, not dominance to the other. And that's why the work resists narrative closure. There's no beginning, there's no middle. When I first encountered his work, for me, it seemed as if there were a beginning, a middle, and an end. But as I continue to view, there's no beginning, there's no middle, there's no end. There's accumulation, and meaning is building slowly, and it's staying. If you were a part of Dear Glory Live, where we discovered Gabriel Mills' work together, you heard me say that at my first encounter of the work, I looked at it as a world. They felt like a world, and they felt like different worlds emerging together. It reminded me of science fiction in a sense. It reminded me of dimensional worlds. It reminded me of a world, and I can't put my name on the term right now. It reminded me that we have many variations of ourselves, that we exist in different forms, we exist in different dimensions, and there are different versions of ourselves in every dimension that exists. That's what this work reminded me of. And I thought it was really beautiful and really explosive and really spiritual and very godlike. The work reminded me of God, and the work reminded me of spirituality and of God. And when I hear him talk about that, about his relationship to time and being and existing and not taking time for granted in his relationship with God. That brings me back to the first feeling I had when I first encountered his work and realized that and seeing how explosive and almost otherworldly the work is. I fell in love with it. And it's a skill that you see used at early stages, the scraping of the palette knife. But it's a skill that he has perfected and that he's infused with his own philosophical thoughts. And that is what's separating him from other artists who might approach their work with a similar technique. I want to pause here for a second and invite you a little deeper into conversations like this. If these videos resonate with you, if you find yourself really thinking about them after they end, the Glory Collective on Patreon is where that thinking becomes really active and alive. That's where we unpacked ideas from all of my videos together. We talk through real questions about art careers and collecting and leave space for nuance and for uncertainty and for strategy. I host a private live session in the Glory Collective on Patreon, not to lecture, but to activate these conversations, to answer questions and think alongside you. The Patreon is a library of resources as well, and every week there are guided frameworks that help you guys think more deeply and clearly about your career or your collection. These frameworks are a path to success, and the best part is during these group working sessions, we can talk about these frameworks together as a group. The Glory Collective is also where you can reserve one-on-one time with me, whether you're an artist thinking about your next phase, planning the next year of your career, or a collector working on collection growth and management. The link is below, and there's also a QR code on the screen. And again, if you haven't already, please subscribe and like the video. It genuinely helps this channel continue to exist. So as I've listened to Mills speak about his work, he speaks about holding opposites together, and that's very apparent in his work. The paintings feel dense, but they feel really quiet, but also explosive. They also feel controlled, but they also feel unresolved, physical but interior. These contradictions are not problems to solve. They're conditions to sustain and to look at and to continue to live with. From a structural perspective, this is important. Practices that can hold contradiction lend to last longer because they don't depend on resolution. They don't require the world to agree with them. They don't collapse when context changes. They remain really open. And this isn't indecision, it's the discipline towards knowing you're stepping towards clarity, but not rushing towards clarity. Now, when we talk about an artist's career, we're often taught to read the CV as straight line. If you are in the Glory Collective on Patreon, I've talked about not reading a CV in a straight line over and over. I've also given a framework to collectors how to read CVs in a web opposed to a straight line, as well as to artists on how to build their CV into a web so that you can actually see instead of that straight line. So when we're talking about an artist's career and we're reading the CV as that straight line, as linear, this happened, then that happened, then this happened, then that happened, and upward and forward and progressive. But careers don't actually function that way. And Gabriel Mills' CV is a really good example of why, if you look at it closely, not just at the names, but at the patterns, what emerges is not a ladder, but it's a web. I've spoken about Pierre Bourdieu before, and you guys let me know if you've ever heard about him. His philosophy becomes useful not as an academic theory, but as a way of seeing and thinking, because Bourdieu reminds us that artists don't move through a vacuum. They move through a field and a living network of institutions, galleries, curators, peers, collectors, cultural values. What matters isn't just where an artist shows, it's how those positions relate to one another. And when we look at Mills's career this way, we see consistency without repetition. He appears across commercial galleries that value restraint and also material intelligence. Museums invested in contemporary abstraction as a long-term conversation because contemporary abstraction is a long-term conversation. It's an academic and institutional conversation. And these spaces that prioritize thinking as much as form, that prioritize international context, that resist trend chasing in favor of sustained inquiry, we realize that he is partnering with institutions that favor that. And his momentum isn't momentum for momentum's sake. It's really core positioning. And what institutions are responding to isn't just the paintings themselves. It's the logic of the practice, a practice that does not require immediate legibility, that does not flatten itself, And that kind of logic holds up over time. And that's why this work lives well in collections. Because when multiple works exist together, whether in a museum or a private home, they don't compete with one another. They deepen one another. And Gabriel's work is a critical philosophy and critical aesthetic and critical approach, a critical way of thinking that sits very strongly within collections. Some practices rely on standout moments and others rely on continuity. And when we think about Mills's future, this really matters because careers that are built as webs rather than ladders are more adaptable. They don't collapse when trends shift, and they don't depend on constant visibility to remain relevant. They sustain dialogue, and that's the long view. He's not building his career on spectacle. He's building it on philosophy. He's building it on time. He's building it on consistency. The same way that his work is approached is the way that he's approaching his career, is the way that he's likely approaching his way of living. And you can see that through his work, and that's really, really important. Mills once described a mantra that guides his practice: to paint as if he has 200 years to do so, while also knowing another second is not guaranteed. And that tension between patience and urgency runs through everything. This is not work that convinces you. It does not persuade you. It does not perform for you. It trusts that meaning will arrive if you're willing to stay. Some art asks you to be understood. Other art asks to be kept company. Other art asks to be lived with over time. And in a moment when time feels really scarce, that demand becomes a statement. Not just a philosophy of painting, it's a philosophy of living, a philosophy of what we're paying attention to. And that's why his work lasts, and I believe will continue to last over decades. I also wanted to let y'all know about something specific that's coming up. On January 29th, I'm hosting a 90-minute workshop designed to guide artists through planning their next year, not just in terms of goals, but in terms of structure. We'll be working through where your practice actually is right now, what kind of opportunities make sense for you and which don't, how to build alignment between your work, your time, and your positioning and your career. This isn't about this session, this 90-minute session is about coherence. If you've been feeling unclear, if you've been feeling scattered or unsure how to think long-term, this workshop is definitely for you. Now, if you're a member in Patreon, you get a wild discount, a 50% off discount to come to that workshop. If you're in the Master and Glory tier on Patreon, then that workshop's totally open for you with no cost attached to it. Look, as we close this video out, I really enjoyed it. I really spent a lot of time with Gabriel, and I just want to thank, first of all, Gabriel for making the work that he does make. I want to thank also the collectors who have lended their thoughts to me about Gabriel's work. I want to also thank the collectors, the advisors, and the curators who have lended their thoughts to me about Gabriel's work. Thank you guys for staying in this video. I also want to thank you guys for choosing attention to the art world over just speed. Thank y'all for staying. If this video gave you something, clarity, language, a simple space to just think, something to watch and enjoy, please subscribe, like, and share it with someone who would enjoy this conversation as well. This channel only works because you're here with me, and I'll leave you guys with this. Glory is a process. You do not get the glory without the story, and the story only happens if you're willing to stay long enough to live through it. I'll see you guys soon for tomorrow's episode, where we dig into why art world success rarely lasts. And then I'll see you guys next Tuesday for Dear Glory Live, where of course we'll get into what's happening in the art world right now, and discover new artists together in real time, all here on Dear Glory, right here on YouTube.